Welcome to today's Wednesday webinar on modular design. This webinar will be about 20 minutes with a question and answer session at the end. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to place those questions in the chat. My name is Paul Lynch, and joining me today is Ryan Randall. We're going to be discussing how we can leverage modular patterns in our course design that will save you time in updating your resources, will provide you with greater flexibility to improve those resources and materials over time, and to reduce student cognitive load. First, let's look at modules versus module items. So on this slide, we have two images. On the left, we have our modules. So modules are organizational units or buckets of content that are used to organize components of your course in a logical manner. On the right is an example of a modular item. So in this case, we're using the book activity to demonstrate this. Modular items are self-contained items that can be combined or exchanged. So where do we use modules? So in Moodle ISU, modules are used by default and will show as the week of the module, like we saw in the previous image, or you may see them with labels such as like week 1, week 2, etc. In this case, modules will act as a container for those different modular items. This can happen on different levels in different ways, which we will explore shortly. So why do we use these? The goal of leveraging modules and modular items is to reduce workload for instructors, reduce that cognitive load for students, and create resources that can easily be maintained and updated across semesters. Now, I'll go ahead and pass things off to Ryan, who will talk about modular items that can fit within your course modules.
Great, thanks, Paul. So when I think of modular items, one of the classic examples I think of are 3x5 note cards. And you're probably used to using them when writing speeches or whatever else you might have, other assignments you've seen in the past. Modular items, here, there's something that can contain smaller components. And I'd say you might think of modular items on a continuum from that sort of 3x5 card that might contain not just sort of the main point of your essay, but also a few smaller line items that you might say, okay, this is one bundle of things. Then it could go on a continuum down to the smallest little 1x1 sort of atomic thing you can think of in a system. So a Lego piece, whatever else you might want to think of. And when you're thinking of the modular items for your course, what I'd really invite you to do is think of each situation, because I don't think there's one sort of appropriate for all instances size. Just think about what's right for you as an instructor, what's right for you as the course, and for each situation for your students. It might vary according to situation is what I'm trying to say. So when we think about these modular items, I'll now let you see a few of the different ways we can turn these into different aspects of Moodle ISU. So in Moodle ISU, we have books, and you've probably seen these. If not, what you're looking at right now is a bit of the central navigation in Moodle. And this is as a student view is what I captured here. So you can see three different things. The one in the middle is a book. So it just takes up that one line in that sort of increasingly long scroll. It could have been some labels. It could have been extremely long, but instead it's just taking up those few pixels. Here's what it expands to. You can see there's a syllabus. We turned the syllabus and course overview into a book. And as you can see on the right, each of the top lines acts as a new sort of page, and students can page through each of them. Then there are smaller subpoints that are sort of headings on that page. So all of this gets neatly tied up into that one part of that long scroll. It'll usually be towards the top if it's the syllabus in your course. But what's nice about this is that you can also use Moodle's auto-linking feature to help make sure that from other places in the course, you can handily direct students back to these without having to repeat the information in multiple places. So that's one really nice benefit of using this sort of modular feature with the books in Moodle ISU. A very similar one is the lessons in Moodle. It looks almost the same. The main distinction is that for books, students can go to any page at any time, sort of like a choose your own adventure. They have the power to go anywhere they want. But with lessons, you as the instructor can set up conditional release. So you can say, here's an assessment. They have to make sure to pass these things before they can see the next chapter or the next section of a book. So depending on what you're trying to do with that bundle of information, you might want to opt for a lesson if you want to make sure that things later on only appear after they've already demonstrated something before. But otherwise, you can see in this photo, they look as an interface very similar. Other things you might want to think about modularly, besides the books and the lessons, are videos. With these, when I used to teach face-to-face in class, I'd often think of an entire session. But once I started thinking more about teaching online, I had to start thinking more about smaller segments and smaller portions and activities. So when you're thinking about videos, instead of thinking, how will I sort of, take one video, the one excellent version of an in-class session, and then sort of chop that up into smaller components, that is an approach to take, because shorter is often better. What you might also want to think about is, going back to the note cards analogy, think maybe in terms more of scenes instead of entire acts of a play, and actually just go ahead and record smaller videos, even depending on how you want to do it, even smaller segments of videos that you edit together. Because if you do that, not only is it often better for learners to be able to focus on a 3 to 5, maybe 7-minute section, but then also for you as the instructor, when information changes, you can update them more readily across times you've taught a particular course. Then one of the other things I really wanted to emphasize is that open educational resources are another thing you can bring in. It doesn't have to be your entire textbook. It doesn't have to be something that central. You can use them just to sort of augment whatever you're doing. So if you're thinking in terms of modular items and in terms of, oh, what can I add to my course, or what might I want to swap out this time? If you look for open educational resources, you can adapt them to your own particular needs, but then you can also sort of swap them in and out across semesters. And these can be handouts, these could be other people's videos, these could be H5P activities, all sorts of things. And thankfully, there's a lot of different resources available to you to find these, so you don't have to make them all yourself. Merlot is one excellent search place. It can be overwhelming though. So I'd highly recommend that you reach out to one of us at the ITRC or one of your ISU librarians, and we'd all be happy to help you find more OER that's relevant for your course. So up next, Paul is going to tell us more about things to consider for modular items.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. So this first thing, how do you know what are appropriate modular items to incorporate into your course? The answer is it depends. As Ryan stated, there may be opportunities to leverage resources such as books, lessons, or he's just mentioning videos. So taking those larger videos and editing them into smaller chunks. Things to consider is what is appropriate for your course. What can you as the instructor change and maintain? And will your changes have the intended impact on your students? Another thing to consider is, are you able to make these changes while maintaining course ease of use and readability? Leveraging a course alignment map. If you'd like to review your course, but you're not sure where to start, a course alignment map is a resource you can use to map out your course. Through using an alignment map, you can broadly view your course activities, resources, and how students interact with the content, with other students, and with the instructor. By having a different view of the course, you may be able to see where you could incorporate modular design into your course. And then additional questions for consideration. Will introducing modular items into your course support the course content and maintain or enhance the content delivery? Depending on the volume and complexity of modular items, am I providing explicit course navigation instructions for students to minimize student confusion? And again, will I be able to maintain these resources between semesters? And then one last question, and I do have an answer for this one, thankfully, is should I have a set amount of modular items in my course? Similar to the first answer, and what you've heard a few times at this point, it depends. Think of Goldilocks, in that each course and instructor will have a different porridge that is essentially just right. Essentially, it will vary from instructor to instructor and from course to course. You can always experiment with an item and collect student feedback through the feedback activity. This way you can make data-driven decisions about your course activities that you're implementing. Next, I'll pass things back to Ryan.
Great, thanks, Paul. I'll go ahead and tell you about some of the other ways that you can follow up with us. So if you do want to learn more, the fastest way is if you have a mobile phone or something, you can take a photo of this QR code and it'll bring you to this slide. And so then all those links will work on your computer. But we have Tiger Tracks articles, like the ones that I shared today, that can help you do sort of, this is a topic and how to walk through doing that. It's more of a how-to, step-by-step approach. We have a video library of other workshops like today's, webinars like today's. So if you want to learn more about other topics, we have other short videos about those. You can always email us at itrc@isu.edu. You could call us at 208-282-5880. Or for those in Pocatello, you can go into the basement of Modular Library at B17. And then also we'll have throughout the entire semester more webinars like these. So watch out for announcements of those in Idaho State today, and also check the ISU events calendar. So, great. So thank you all for coming.